Go ahead, you're live.
Hi, 1 second. I gotta move to a place that's a little bit well light, a little more bright. Hold on 1 sec. Hi everyone. I just want to thank April and the committee who for a wonderful conference this year, and I'm very honored to. Oh, just a minute. And I wish, and I'm hoping that everyone had a fabulous time. Um, winning awards is great and all, but I really want to thank Melly for who brought me into the world of IL and for really introducing me to the fantastic members of at Arizona in Arizona and across the country. I think that it's important that our youth and my fellow colleagues and I pick up where you guys are leaving off because there's so much more that we need to do, and we can't stop what we're doing. I think that we've made tremendous uh, progress in the years, and I think that we need to keep this momentum if we wish to continue fighting and receiving the same access to the basic necessities of life. And I think that it's important that we come together like this, whether it's in a virtual platform or a physical platform, um, and we connect, we share our ideas because innately human beings are social. We love to socialize, whether you're an introvert or not. We still love to socialize. We love to get mix and mingle, and that is perfectly fine, and that is why we do better when we work together. So again, thank you for the committee, and I hope everyone has a fabulous weekend, and let's continue doing the work that we've set out to finish.
Yes, thank you, Isaac. I appreciate that. A man after my own heart. We are all social animals. So thank you. One other person I'd like to recognize too is I'd like to recognize Sarah Menton for all of her work as a board member from Crockett Resource Center for Independent Living in Crockett, Texas. So thank you for all of your service on our board. We appreciate it, and certainly a heartfelt thank you. And oh wait, what is this? Huh? This just in. Ooh, this just in from the Academy. This is the award for best staff and board of a membership organization dedicated to advancing the rights of people with disabilities in rural America. Goes to April. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Academy. Thank you. Gosh, I just want to thank everyone. Thank the Lord. Thank my mom and dad. Thank all of the people that made this possible. Such an honor. Thank you. But seriously, it wouldn't be an April conference if it wasn't me being full of it. So let's see what's up next. Oh gosh, I'm sorry about that, Marie. I'm going to lead right into you with a terrible, terrible bit of comedy. But I would like to introduce next a good friend of mine. Known her for a couple of days. Uh, Maria Town. Maria is the president and CEO of the American Association of People with Disabilities, and she has had quite a distinguished career. Just a couple of the things. She has been the director of the mayor's office for people with disabilities in Houston, Texas, one of the largest cities in America. And she's also been a senior associate director of I can't even speak, public engagement in the Obama White House, of something I'm incredibly envious and am certainly proud that she was in that role and did a fabulous job. Fantastic, may I say. So without any further fanfare, Maria, let me turn the floor over to you. And thank you so much for being here with us this afternoon and helping us close our conference.
Thank you so much, Billy, and thank you for that really kind introduction. So I will say this, I have learned so much from Billy Alstom and April that I try to share every time I can. One of the things that Billy did not share with you all, that is a huge part of my bio and what motivates me, is that I'm originally from Southeast Louisiana, in a town from a town called Hammond, which, while for our parish, it is the biggest city in our parish, but it's home to about 15,000 people. So I grew up in a really rural area and have so much respect for what rural independent living centers and organizers do. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Congratulations to all of the awardees. I'm so excited to talk to you about one of my favorite subjects, and that's voting. But before we dig into that, I want to make sure we're all on the same page, okay? I'm going to be asking y'all a lot of questions. I might ask y'all to share some stories. If you are ready for that, can you give me a signal in the chat? I see Fantasy's ready. Lots of people are ready. Okay, great. Awesome. Mary, I may ask you. All right. So, again, my name is Maria. As Billy said, I'm the president and CEO of the American Association of People with Disabilities. AAPD is a cross-disability civil rights organization, and we focus on building the economic and political power of the disability community across the United States. And one of the main ways that we do that is by building the power of the disability vote. Now, y'all may be seeing a lot of stories about voting right now, because what's happening? What's happening right now as we speak? Anybody? The election. We are all voting, yes. So a lot of times you'll hear people say that the election is 17 days away. That's wrong. The end of the election is in 17 days. Election day is just one day of the election. As of right now, more than 20 million people have already voted. And they voted in person, they voted by mail, they have voted in their cars, they may have even voted on an iPad. It's incredible to see how many people are voting, especially considering how many barriers to voting people are experiencing this year. Now, I'm seeing a lot of people in the chat saying that they've already voted. And I'm going to pick on some people that I know. Kim Gibson in Georgia, you already voted. How did you vote? Let's see what she says. Kim voted in person. How about others? Mary, I'll ask you the question. Have you voted? Are you among the more than 20 million who've already voted? She has her ballot in her hands. Alyssa with April says that early voting in Arkansas starts Monday. Billy mentioned that I used to live in Houston, Texas, which is one of the largest cities in the country. In Houston, which started early voting 3 days ago, more than 300,000 people have already voted over the past 3 days. And Mary is in Montana. Scott says that he is dropping his ballot off at a ballot drop box this weekend. Great, y'all are really taking advantage of all the different ways you have to vote. I see that Tom says that now that you have voted early, find someone who hasn't voted and ask if you could help them to vote. Tom, you read my mind. That is a great suggestion. I want to tell you all my story about voting recently. I live in Washington, D.C., so not a rural area at all. D.C. does a lot of things right. Washington, D.C. mailed me my ballot. I didn't have to request it. That's one of the barriers to voting that people are experiencing. Some states try to limit people's ability to vote by mail by making them request a ballot. And other states, like my home state, Louisiana, requires that you have a reason to vote absentee. So you have to say, I have a disability, I can't go to the polling place, I need my ballot, I have to request my ballot absentee. So I have to have a reason, a request, and then I get my ballot. But a lot of states, Colorado is a good example, and DC, they mail you your ballot. So for me, I got my ballot. DC also provided me with postage and a way to return my ballot, so I didn't have to buy stamps. That's another barrier. And then I said, well, I'm worried about postal service delays and my vote getting counted, so I'm going to go to a ballot box and drop off my ballot. I did my research. I made a whole plan to vote. I found the ballot box that was the closest to my apartment. I go to the ballot box with what I'm going to say is a member of my voting squad, and guess what happened? I'll be upfront. I have a mobility disability. I have cerebral palsy. So when I get to the ballot box, what happened? The place is not accessible. Yes, it wasn't accessible. The ballot box was completely cut off by street construction. And if I hadn't had someone else with me, someone to help me vote, I would have had to go home and make a completely new plan to vote. Maybe I would have just forgotten about it and not voted at all. But instead I could give my ballot to a member of my voting squad and vote. And then I could, of course, call the DC Board of Elections and report that the drop box was inaccessible. And so one of the things that we do at AAPD is make sure that people are aware of their rights and the rules related to voting. And it's so great to see all of you talking in the chat, because even in the chat, you can all see how different voting is across states. So I wanted to share some resources with everybody. And I'm going to share my screen. If I can figure out how to do that. Here we go. Okay. Share. So this is AAPD's website for voting in 2020. Patricia said she asked a friend to fill out her ballot and take it and drop it off, and that is awesome. So we've developed voting guides for each and every state that we are updating in real time as states change various deadlines and rules. For example, in Arizona, we posted this on the 5th, and that same day, Arizona extended their voter registration deadline. On these state guides, we go through how you can register to vote, when you need to register by. So if you live in Arizona, anybody from Arizona on today's chat? Now I can't see the chat box.
Yep, Melly was saying she's here.
Oh, great, Melly, you're here. Fantastic. So Melly is definitely making sure that Arizonans are registered to vote by October 23rd. In Arizona, they do not allow people to register on election day. So anyway, for each state, we go through when you need to register, how you can vote, where you can vote, and other rules. Some people with disabilities may experience restrictions to voting because they're under guardianship or potentially because they've been incarcerated previously. And we have another tool. It's a giant spreadsheet for anyone that loves spreadsheets, which goes through all of the various election rules in each state. So we look at things like if curbside voting is available, if an ID is required. It's so much information. And so if you are a voting nerd like me, you can have a ball going through this spreadsheet and checking out how each state structures voting just a little bit differently. Check out the chat. Shanique from Arizona is mailing in her ballot today. That's awesome. Hannah says that her local ballot drop box is not accessible for those who use wheelchairs or mobility scooters. Hannah, please follow up with me after this talk, because we're actually trying to gather information on that. So since we were talking about Arizona and Melly is on the chat, AAPD and the Arizona State Independent Living Council are working together to build the power of the disability vote. Melly, do you want to share some of the things that you're doing to motivate voters in Arizona? I'm gonna wait for her to respond. While we're waiting for Melly to respond, again, I want to emphasize, if you have questions about what voting looks like in your state, please check out these resources. And if we've got something wrong, let us know so we can update them. Same thing with this spreadsheet. If you have friends in other states who don't know if they can vote, where they can vote, how they can vote, you can use either these state voting guides or this spreadsheet to help answer their questions. I'm going to check on.
Hi, Maria. It's Melly. I speak faster than I type. So thank you so much. Yes, we're very excited, and thank you for mentioning this wonderful opportunity for us here in Arizona. So we are partnering with Arizona Center for Disability Law and Disability Incorporated, and we are going to be making some more accessible formats of the variety of materials that we have going out in our state. Also improving our ability to translate to the Spanish language. And we're going to be doing some webinars and youth social media campaigns and that sort of thing to really reach out to our young voters. So we're super excited and grateful.
That's awesome. And we are really excited to be working with you all and can't wait to just help amplify everything you're doing. Patricia in Nevada raises a really good point, and this is something else we've been working on at AAPD. So a lot of you have mentioned that you're voting by mail. I received my ballot in the mail, which is awesome. And one of the reasons that voting by mail is so important this year is because of the risks of COVID exposure. More and more people are choosing to vote absentee or to vote by mail because they want to make sure they aren't exposed to the virus or don't come down with the virus when they're trying to exercise their most sacred right to vote. But one of the big concerns about vote by mail is that it's also not accessible to many people. For people with print disabilities, those who are blind or have a learning disability, how are they going to read their ballot if it's just sitting there on a piece of paper? For people with dexterity disabilities, or even myself, if I spasm, my signature may not look the same all the time. And often when you vote by mail, they require something called a signature verification. So your signature has to match what's on your ID. So AAPD and a number of other disability rights organizations have been advocating for greater investment in electronic voting resources. So one of the things that you will find on this spreadsheet is whether or not states provide electronic ballot delivery for voters with disabilities. So in some states, Arizona does not do this, and neither does Arkansas. California does. California will send ballots to voters electronically so that they can use assistive tech like screen readers to read their ballots at home. There are still some major accessibility issues with that, because then you still have to print out your ballot. A lot of people don't have printers, and sign it. There is another system that members of our military, when they're overseas, used to vote, called UACAVA, and they can vote online. And so one of the things that we are championing is for expansions of systems like that, so that our democracy can be fully inclusive and more accessible. A lot of people with disabilities this year are still going to choose to vote in person because they can use an accessible ballot marking device at the polls, which will allow them to cast an independent, anonymous, accessible ballot. I'm seeing a lot of questions. Sarah is trying to help a client sign up to vote. We changed her address and she hasn't received anything. She can't find her registration online. She's in Colorado. What does she do? And Sarah, I'm not sure, but I'm trying to keep track of these questions. Now, we've talked a lot about the process of voting itself, but what are you actually voting for? So I want to show you another example. This is a website called Vote 411. It's created by an organization called the League of Women Voters, and League of Women Voters chapters are everywhere. They do great work. It's all nonpartisan, and they partner frequently with our Rev Up coalitions, which is AAPD's big voting initiative. So when you look at this ballot, you can put in your address on Vote 411, and it shows your full ballot. What I did for this ballot is I put in April's address. So in Arkansas, in Little Rock, people can vote for president, the 2nd U.S. House District. I found this one, issue 3, Changing Arkansas Citizen Initiative Process, Votes Required for Legislative Ballot Issue Proposals and Publication Requirements, really interesting. Now that's a lot of words, and maybe Billy can correct me if I'm wrong, but what I think this has to do with is how many signatures a citizen needs to get on a petition in order for an issue to be introduced, or maybe it's a representative, in order for an issue to be introduced as a legislative proposal. And they want to increase the requirement for signatures from 15 counties to 45. To me, that's a huge increase, and that could really prevent a lot of important issues from being on the ballot. Again, I'm not an Arizona voter. There may be more kind of nuance to this than I'm seeing, but if it were up to me, I might vote no on this measure because it seems like it's trying to limit the voice of the people. Now, this is an issue tied to the 2020 election, but in the reality, every single year is some kind of election year. Every year, people vote on elected officials and issues that have direct impact on their lives. Billy mentioned that I used to work for the city of Houston in the mayor's office. And so it was there where I really understood that what was on the ballot, again, directly shaped my life and the lives of the people that I served. So this issue, for example, again, may limit the way that issues get on the agenda for your state legislature. I don't know. Some of you may be voting on issues like how the state spends money to recover from a disaster, or how or standardized testing for schools. I want to emphasize, voting is not just something that we do every 4 years. It's something that we do at least every year, if not more frequently. And it's important to vote in both primaries and general elections for candidates that understand and make sure that candidates have an opportunity to understand disability issues. So again, this was Vote 411. It's something from the League of Women Voters, but there are lots of other sites that will help you understand the ballots in every election that you're going to be voting on. Another one is Ballotpedia. So this is AAPD's general voting website, not tied to the 2020 election. And one of the things that we do is put together sorry, issue guides. So when you think about, again, your local area, whether it's, you know, Idaho, California, Georgia, what issues are the most pressing issues for the disability community in your state, in your county, in Louisiana, your parish, your city, and your town? And do you have the tools that you need to make sure that every candidate running for election, no matter what party, understands that they need to take those issues seriously? In the recent presidential primary, we saw 12 candidates for president create disability policy platforms. That's really exciting. What I want to see is every candidate running for local office have an understanding of disability issues, of access issues, and of inclusion, so that we not only understand our power from a kind of big picture level, but we really feel our power at a local level. And I hope that the Rev Up Issues Guide can be a tool that everyone uses to get that conversation going at a local level. I think we have 5 minutes left of my presentation, and so I want to end on this note and open it up for questions really quick. As of this year, there are at least 38 million eligible voters with disabilities. I have seen elections at the local level decided by 12 votes, by 5 votes. And if people with disabilities voted at the same rate as people without disabilities, we would see 2 million more voters annually than we currently do. That's a huge number. In some states, the last presidential election was decided by, you know, tens of thousands of votes. So, you know, no matter how many barriers there are to voting right now, or potentially how disillusioned and disenfranchised you might feel with today's current events, your vote matters. Your vote is a way to get your voice, your priorities out there. And no matter which election is occurring, it is important, it is critical, it is vital to building our power. I'm going to end with Justin Dart's quote, "Vote like your life depends on it, because it does." And with that, I'll open it up to questions. I'm going to read through the chat. A lot of people are using Vote 411. Great, awesome. Mark says in Nevada, it has both an accessible ballot delivery system and accessible in-person machines. I was probably talking too fast for the interpreter. I'm so sorry. Cindy looked up her ballot on Vote 411, and there's also debate videos, so you can easily do your research before voting. And Kenneth, thank you so much for supporting Rev Up on your social media, and I hope everybody can support Rev Up on your social media. Are there any questions?
I don't see anybody's hand raised at this point.
Your vote matters and must be counted. Are any of you who haven't voted, are you now going to vote? Masha says yes. Shika, Sika also says yes, and I apologize if I mispronounced your name. Cindy says yes, in person on election day. Alyssa says yes, in person, masked and gloved. Well, one thing that I will ask of all of you is, Kurt says, as soon as we are finished with this conference, I will be taking my ballot to drop it off. And someone named Kay Parsons says, as Michelle Obama said a few weeks ago, a gift would be to encourage someone who would not vote to do so. And Mary says, I plan on mailing my ballot back after this session. If folks are using social media, when you vote, whether it's in person or by mail, or again from your car, and you're posting your I voted selfie, tag me in it and I will retweet you. I'll put my Twitter in the chat, and maybe AAPD could also retweet you as well. Danny says that they'll be in person, loaded with hand sanitizer and their mask. Mark already voted with digital ballot delivery. Mark, what state do you live in? Nevada. Mm-hmm. All right, well, my time is up. Thank you all again. Youth Lead NC says, what are your suggestions for getting youth with disabilities involved? I'm going to answer that real quick. One suggestion is making sure that any youth who is either over 18 and over or will be 18 by election day is registered to vote. And making sure that youth understand, again, even if they don't like President Trump or Vice President Biden, that they can vote for many other issues that will directly affect their lives. When you vote, it's not just about the presidency. Making sure that youth understand, again, that voting has a direct connection to what they experience day to day and what kinds of local issues get action is really important. Organizations like When We All Vote have really focused on building the youth vote. There's an initiative right now focused on getting youth to register to vote at like school dances. I also, again, think about going to where youth are and making sure they can get registered in a way that like fits with their lives, as opposed to making them show up to a seminar. Might be good. I see that April has shared my contact information. I'm going to put all these links in the chat and also send them to the April office to send out to all the conference attendees. Again, thank you all for your time, and I will turn it back over to Billy.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
And if you would unshare your screen, please. Perfect, thank you. So up next, we want to hear from, we call it the youth final word, get a little wrap up from the youth and hear about how they either enjoyed the conference, what they learned. So who is my first speaker from?
Noah, you can go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Noah, and I would like to say thank you to everyone at April for making this conference a great one. Even though we're not in person, this is still the best conference I've been to in many years. And I would just like to say that everyone has come so far in this conference, and some who have just begun are going to be able to do more things than any of us have in the future. And I think to finish my thing off, I have a quote from a musical that I like. To being an us for ones instead of a them. Thank you.
Masha, you can go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Masha Flynn. I was your guys' youth media and outreach chair for this year. This conference has been great. I know that we've had a lot of barriers this year, but I have learned so much, especially from getting to be on the youth steering committee. I have learned so much from this organization and from my own SIL that I currently work for, Wyoming Independent Living, that, I've just learned so much from just the different backgrounds and the different cultures that we all come from, and it's helped me to really get to understand disability in a more broad way. Before I leave, I just want to say thank you to April for allowing me to be a part of this organization, as well as thank my other youth steering committee members. I've had such a wonderful time getting to know you girls, or you people, I should say, and getting to work with you these past few months, as well as I wanted to thank my SIL, Wyoming Independent Living, our Casper office, for sponsoring me this year and for always supporting me in all of my endeavors. So.
Go ahead, Andy. You're good.
Hi guys. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yep, you're good to go.
Okay. I really loved the April conference. I love meeting new people and learning some stuff that will help me in the future. And the really thing I liked today was talking with other people my age, knowing what some stuff they're going through and see how we can figure out how to help in such a way. And this conference has been the best year, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to come again next year. Oh, and Billy, I love your singing. You did great.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
And Shika, you can go ahead. Thanks, Andy.
Hey everyone, this is Shika. I enjoyed the conference, and I love being on the youth steering committee. It was a lot of fun planning this conference, and I learned a lot from all the presenters, and thank you for all you guys do. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. We've got one more. Opal, do you want to go ahead?
Yes, please. I would just like to say thank you to everybody at April, particularly the youth steering committee, for paying for me to come this year, and I'm thankful actually to everybody else that came, because even though the world is crazy and COVID is happening, you're still out there in the world doing all sorts of wonderful advocacy things, and so I'm just thankful that you guys are still working, even though the world is kind of going insane.
Awesome. Thank y'all. This was great. Billy?
Awesome, indeed. Thank you all. And thank you, Maria. I appreciate that. Great words. And one of the things I always talk to folks about too when we're hanging out, and invariably, conversations always go to politics. And my first thing is, did you vote? And if you didn't vote, I don't want to hear anything you have to say. So move on down the road. So remember that when you're talking to me, if you didn't vote, I'm not talking politics with you. So let's keep this up. One of the final things that we want to do every year is thank all of the folks that make this possible. Our main conference sponsors, Centene and Anthem the ADA National Network, and Ability 360. Thank you. Thank you. Also, our in-kind sponsors, the Arizona Silk, our ad sponsors, the Rural Health Information Hub, and Disability Link. Thank you so much for all of your support. Also, a tremendous thanks to Mary, Sierra, and Alyssa for all of the work that they put in, all the board for their assistance, and to Bill Cochran, wherever you are, thank you so much for your technical support. But mostly, thank you to you for being part of our family, for making our conferences a success every year. Couldn't do it without you. So we certainly appreciate you. That is all that I have for folks today. I would like to offer Mary and or Sierra the opportunity to say anything if they've got any words of wisdom to part with us.
This is Mary, and I just dropped the evaluation in the chat. As always, we can't get better if we don't know what we're doing wrong and what we're doing right. So if you could fill that out on your way out, and just know that, so you guys will have all the recordings up by Monday. The first part of the week is already up, and those will be at your fingertips and access until January. So happy recording watching.
Oh, and the Discord will still be up after the conference. So continue joining in and connecting with others after the conference.
Fantastic. Well, having said that, it is exactly 5 o'clock on the hour, and that's what time we said we would be through. So that is a wrap. Everyone be safe going from your computer to your sofa. Normally I would tell you to drive home safely, but didn't have to do that this year. So booyah. Adios, folks. It's been great. Thank you very much. Okay, thanks again.